If you've been thinking about moving to Durham, North Carolina, you might be shocked to find out just how many people this year are choosing Durham over Raleigh's top suburbs like Cary, Apex, and Holly Springs. But there is a catch.
Well, there's a lot to love about Durham, from its artsy downtown, great food scene, and fantastic neighborhoods. It might not be the one for you.
And that's exactly what we're going to find out in this video, so let's get into it. So the thing that you need to know about Durham, North Carolina is that compared to Raleigh, it's going to be a lot more lively. It's going to be more urban. Durham is a massive city, so depending on where you're looking, things are going to feel very, very different. Later in this video, we're going to be getting into all the different neighborhoods, different parts of Durham so that you can really understand, and you're going to feel the difference between Durham and Raleigh most in its downtown.
For sure, for sure. And right off the bat, we got the Durham Bulls baseball field, man. This is right on the heart of downtown. So you got sports entertainment on the fingertips. Cool thing is, it's surrounded by shopping, but dining. Thing is that I heard something about Raleigh though.
Yeah, exactly. So Raleigh, they've been trying to get a soccer stadium into downtown for a while. We'll see if that actually happens. But for right now, Durham has got Raleigh beat on having sports entertainment. I'm part of the city, which is huge. People take their Durham Bulls games very, very seriously.
They do. Every Friday night, you come with the family, with your kids. It's full of kids and family, man. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. It's minor league baseball, but it's a pretty big stadium. Imagine this entire thing filled to the brim with people, all recently renovated too. We've got really good Mexican and other restaurants, shops, all integrated into the baseball field. Now, what's crazy to me is that we're here on a Thursday morning, and everywhere we go, there's people outside walking, grabbing drinks, hanging out at the restaurants. Not to mention there's school kids running around because we have a top private school, the Cristo Rey Research Triangle High School, right here in the community.
And Ben, one thing, all these buildings that we're seeing here on our left, those brick buildings, back in the day, when I'm saying back in the day, that is, let's say on the 1800s, 1860s.
Wow,
yeah,
really
so
old.
After the Civil War,
okay,
this started to be a tobacco company. There's a lot of history, and then by the 1987, this all went down to shambles. So all this, it was just neglected. It was ghost city. It was dead city. 1990s happened, started the renovation. So all this used to be tobacco warehouses. Now you got offices, shopping, dining.
I imagine that's why they call it the American Tobacco Historic District. And you can actually see right behind us, that Lucky Strike Tower that kind of looks like the Warner Bros. Tower from Hollywood.
It does.
So they've actually done a really good job of protecting the history and the buildings and everything, but they've completely revitalized Durham so that, I mean, we're not relying on tobacco anymore. This is a completely different city, but they just stay in touch with their roots, which is kind of cool.
Now, Benjamin, you know what that building is right there?
I went over there?
Yeah.
I believe that is the DPAC.
That is the DPAC, man. And in 2025, it was top 3 of theater venues throughout the whole U.S.
The whole U.S.
The whole U.S.
Not just Raleigh, Durham, not
nope.
just North Carolina.
It was below Las Vegas, Atlanta, and then you had Durham, DPAC.
So what is it?
So it's an arts, performing arts.
Okay.
Basically, Broadway comes here, man.
Broadway comes here.
Broadway comes here, straight from New York City.
So they're putting on all sorts of performances. I know they're advertising some for this weekend that are already sold out.
Yeah.
Weeks to months in advance. The tickets get a little bit pricey too, but
they do. You got to pay the price.
if you're top 3 in the nation, then
of course,
that makes sense. Now we're closer to the heart of downtown Durham. And this is where it really starts to feel like an urban city.
It does.
It's where the density is. They recently passed some zoning changes where they're going to be building even higher sky rises than that one right there. So they're going to be building them taller and taller.
Okay.
If you're moving from somewhere like California, New York, somewhere that is more urban, this might actually feel a little bit more at home to you than like downtown Raleigh, for example.
You're right, because I mean, we've been walking a couple blocks and it feels that I could do this every day, you know? Instead, there's a lot shop after shop, from dining, local boutiques, haircuts, a lot of things going on. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it really does have a lot of stuff. It's easy to get in and out of the downtown, which is nice too. So parking's pretty easy. They have plenty of parking garages. During the weekends, free parking on the streets. So it's not as chaotic to get into the downtown as it's going to be in like your bigger cities, but then it still gives you that big city feel.
And then one of the things that both Raleigh and Durham are really good at, it's incorporating nature.
Yeah.
So we've been walking and I've seen like pockets.
Yeah, like that one over there.
Yeah.
Park.
All parked. I mean, all you need is some chairs and nature. And that's it.
That's right. Big thing about Durham is that there's something for every stage of life. So if you're brand new to the area and you just want to start out something simple, maybe you're on the younger side, they've got like brand new condos that they built here in downtown.
Beautiful.
That gives you the best chance of getting to know the area, making some friends. But then there's going to be some really nice established neighborhoods for more like family types, just as we get outside of that. Yeah, and once you get outside of downtown, things are going to change pretty quickly depending on where you go. So, for example, if you go to North Durham, then up there, then things are going to get a lot quieter. So you're going to find more rural. You're going to find lot sizes significantly larger. You want a half-acre lot? You can find that in Durham in the 3s and 4s, which is very surprising to most people considering once we start going to like the south side of Durham, there's a lot more going on, but the prices get steeper, the properties are still old, the lots get smaller. And that's where we're seeing more like tear downs of properties, older properties being torn down, brought back up. So a lot of, like renovations happening on the south side. A lot more movement there because you're so close to Research Triangle Park at that point, and you're so close to the airport. You're sandwiched in between Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, so very central to the triangle. That east side of Durham, we'll be talking about that later in the video, but that is one of the fastest growing parts of Durham with a bunch of new construction. And then when you get to that west side, which is where we are right now, here on the Duke University campus, it's going to be primarily the Duke campus, hospitals, and the surrounding real estate, many of which is going to be student housing. There's going to be some really nice premium neighborhoods surrounding there as well. But every different little part of Durham has a very different feel, different vibe. And like you said, we are on the west, and this is beautiful. We're in one of the most beautiful gardens in the whole triangle. Yes, this is Sarah P. Duke Gardens. This is just a sliver of the massive campus that they have. And the crazy part is for about $2 worth of parking, you can have access to this giant campus. You can walk around, see the history of Duke, which is what we're about to go do, while we talk about all the things that there are to do throughout Durham. And you can get yourself a coffee. Bam. The great thing about Durham is you have quick access to Falls Lake. Well, that is right there if you like camping, boating, fishing, everything. Another thing that's very interesting about Durham, and this is true for all the triangle, is the amount of trails. So the tobacco routes that Durham has, so you're able to ride those greenways, whether you're biking or walking, going for a run, throughout all of Durham. And we have greenways connecting you all the way from North Durham all the way down to Southeast Raleigh and Bensop. All the neighborhoods throughout Durham are connected via trails.
And then one of the cool things about being in Durham is that you have access to massive shopping centers.
Yes.
To the north, to the west, to the south,
so
to the
like
east.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Covered.
Yeah. And let's say in the southwest, you have South Point Mall. Actually, it's full of variety of stores, retail, dining. That is one of the largest malls here in the Triangle. Really in time, and it's actually really nice. It is super nice. And then you have the Briar Creek Commons. That's it shared with Raleigh.
Yes.
So
it's about as border between Lake County and Durham County that you can get. But literally everything you would need shopping, dining wise, it's there.
Exactly. So, I mean, you're all connected throughout the way. So everywhere you are in Durham, you will have access to a great shopping experience.
Yeah, and the one thing about Durham that I would say is it is very convenient. You have access to many pockets of restaurants, shopping, dining, everything, everywhere.
We saw that a lot, yeah.
But unlike some of Raleigh's suburbs, like Cary, for example, you don't have as many high-end established new developments. So even though there are some Trader Joe's and Publix and that kind of stuff, you're not going to see them near as often as you would driving around Cary, Apex.
That is true.
You don't have a Costco, it's super convenient.
But Ben, there is one thing that I know Raleigh dies for, that Durham has.
Okay.
And that is one of the best universities in the whole US.
Yes.
Talking about?
Yeah, Duke University.
Duke University, man.
That's where we are right now. And Duke is one of the top in the country. It's an expensive school. It's a top-rated school. Very, very difficult to get into. And Durham has that claim. We're only a 5-10 minute drive away from downtown. And this west side, like we said earlier, is really taken up by Duke and its campus. And not to mention the Duke hospitals that are all throughout the Triangle offering really good healthcare.
And one of the things that being in Durham, like you said, is healthcare, man. You have the Duke Healthcare, and like your next door neighbor is UNC. And we're in one of the best areas to take care of your health.
100%. We do see a lot of retirees and people just future planning, moving to the area specifically for that area access. And as someone who's planning to have kids, like I do want to be near good healthcare, right? And hey, they're going to go to college one day, and I don't know if you're going to go to...
Are you going to bring them?
I don't know if you're going to go to Duke or if you're going to go to UNC. I know UNC is a lot cheaper, and it's still... the people love UNC.
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
I don't know if you know this, but UNC was actually the first public university in the United States history. Now, we are going to talk more about the actual public private schools K through 12 options that you have later in the video, so stay tuned for that.
But first, if you're thinking about relocating to Durham, Raleigh, or any place in the triangle, you can call the number below, you can scan the QR code, or you can click the link in the description to chat with us.
Now, one thing about Durham that's kind of different when you're thinking about relocating is that if you're relocating to the Raleigh side, you might be in like North Raleigh or you might be close to downtown, but you're also looking at all these many suburbs that make up Raleigh, from Perry, Apex, Holly Springs, Fuquay, Varina, you name it. It's a pretty massive county though, and that's why we kind of talked about the differences between west, south, north, and there's honestly so many great neighborhoods to choose from, just depending on what you're looking for in your lifestyle. You know, if I'm a family and I want, affordable pricing, but I still want to be close to jobs, close to things to do, then I might look in South Point for people. So it's not just a place with a lot of shopping and, the ball and everything. You have a 5-minute, 10-minute commute. You do Research Triangle into the airport. You're quick to get into Cary and into most of Raleigh. And the best part is the housing prices there are pretty affordable. And the median home price there is honestly very reasonable. You can find homes in the upper 3s, in the 4s, built somewhere in the last 20, 30 years. Not as much new construction over there, but you are getting the real premium on location.
You are. And if I was in your position, then one other place that I would be looking at, that would be the Briar Creek area. Yes, there are neighborhoods there that are super, let's say, expensive. They're expensive, they're golf course communities.
Yep.
But as we've mentioned in previous videos, there's some other pockets of neighborhoods within Briar Creek,
yes,
that have more affordable housing that can be a good starter home for a family. I mean, you're within a zip code and a neighborhood that is within top-rated schools.
100%. And like you said, it's kind of 50-50 between Raleigh and Durham there. So on really the east and north side of Briar Creek, you are within minutes of both the Research Triangle Park and the airport.
Yep.
You have Briar Creek Commons at your feet. You have all the shopping, the golf course, the amenities, and you can really save on price with a newer home by just crossing that line into the Durham side.
What's happening over that line, Ben?
Well, you're paying a little bit more in property taxes. The schools are going to change, but you just get a lot more for that price is the honest truth, and you still have access to everything.
Yeah,
that's a really great area that not enough people look at, but we always kind of point them in that direction that they reach out.
And man, there's one neighborhood that a lot of people really love, and we get calls for it, and that is Hope Valley Farms.
Yeah,
that is Central Durham, golf course community.
Yes.
Golf course community means prices might go up a little bit, but still you can get a good family-sized single-family home.
You can find single-family homes there for like starter types.
Yeah.
In the 4s, I've seen some in the upper 3s. And yet you could also find $1 million home on the golf course, your little McMansion, right? So you have access to the optional golf course. You have great HOA amenities being part of this master plan community that honestly takes up a good chunk of Central Durham. There's so many like micro neighborhoods within Hope Valley Farms that there's probably a good fit for you, whether you're on this end of the spectrum or on this end.
Exactly. And Ben, there's one more thing that we haven't mentioned, super important, and that is new construction. Is there new construction? Is there? It's not. What's going on?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And honestly, new construction is one of the many reasons why people are relocating to Durham over Raleigh this year and for the next 5-10 years, most likely.
Yep, for sure.
New construction is really hard to find in places like Raleigh, Cary. It's becoming very expensive, even on outer suburbs of Raleigh, like Apex, Holly Springs. It's not a lot of options, and yet new construction is one of the best ways to get a house that requires very little maintenance and find builder incentives where you can get, low fixed rates in the 4s and 5s like we saw many years ago, which makes new construction even more affordable than a lot of the resale properties that you do have to do fixing up.
Exactly.
Now, we're going to be talking about the one place in Durham where things are just blowing up. You can get so much new construction.
And I heard about it, Ben. It even made the news, apparently.
Yep.
Which one is it?
This has been dubbed like the fastest growing part of the triangle right now.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, we realized that Durham might not be the right fit for you, and there might be another part throughout the triangle that's going to be better for you. We actually made a free suburbs quiz that you can take on our website, no strings attached, and it will actually take you through a series of questions, very thought out, so that it will tell you what are the top 3 suburbs that you should be looking at. From there, you'll have a much better picture of what are the neighborhoods that I should be looking into, where should I not be looking. If you want to try that out for yourself today, you can go to www.raleighncguide.com/quiz.
And before we go into new construction, there is one thing that is very important for families that are relocating to the area, and that would be schools.
Yeah, schools are super important. And now the elephant in the room is everybody who calls us, they know that Wake County schools are awesome. Some of the top rated schools in the state are going to be found in places like North Raleigh and Cary and Apex. And we get people calling in all the time about those schools. We don't get calls as often about the Durham County schools, not because they suck. And I'm not saying some schools aren't better than others, but the problem is Durham County schools just doesn't have the reputation and the prestige that you'll find with a lot of the public and private schools that like Cary has to offer, for example.
So before you jump into any conclusions on school systems, on ratings, we always advise our clients and everybody. If you want to know more about schools ratings, go to niche.com.
That's a good one.
Get your own conclusions, and you'll see the data right there, right?
That's a great way to have like peer reviews mixed with actual rankings data. Come up with that for yourself. I do know that Durham has some really great private schools that people definitely know and love.
Yeah, they do. And one of them is Trinity.
Yes.
That one is shared with Chapel Hill. Basically, it's called Trinity, Durham, Chapel Hill. Then you also have Catholic schools that are on the private sector. But I mean, you're not just enclosed on your zip code. You can go to Raleigh. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you could drive all the way into Cary and go to like Cary Academy, for example. With any private school, you of course have to apply, you have to get in, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the top private schools are on wait lists. To name a few, you have Riverside High School, you have Jordan High School, you also have Pearsontown Elementary, but there's so many more, and we could sit here and just name all the great schools that Durham has to offer. We just encourage you to go out and do your own research, because a lot of people have already figured out that Durham does have great schools. And over the years, as more and more people are moving into Durham, you know, what does that mean for the school system? It means it's going to improve because there's more property taxes and development coming in, brand new schools being built that were just never options before.
Especially on the newer side of Durham where all the magic is happening. Let's get into it.
All right. Yeah, so we hinted earlier, there's a part of Durham where all the new construction is. That is the number one reason, if I had to say so, why people are choosing Durham over Raleigh, over Cary, because guess what? Those core parts of our market, as nice as they are, they're getting old. They're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old in terms of their houses, their shopping centers. There's not a lot of new. In East Durham, specifically 27703, which was named the fastest growing zip code in Durham and really in the Triangle in recent years, they're building everything new. We're going to be seeing new shopping, new developments, new schools, new roads, especially new construction homes. And not just any new construction homes, they're actually kind of affordable, which is shocking for us.
And Ben, affordability is the number one in this location. You can get homes from 400,000, 500,000, man. Single families. Could be a starter home for you. The place you're at, you're next to top-rated schools, next to the RTP, next to the airport, next to Briar Creek Commons, borderline Raleigh.
And this is literally the last pocket that they could possibly develop that's still close proximity to all the things that you just mentioned. And the fact that we have single-family homes starting in the 4s is crazy when you think that the average home price for a resale property that's 10, 20, 30 years old in Durham is going to be around 450,000. In Raleigh, that's pushing 500,000.
Exactly.
So you cross that line from Raleigh into Durham, you're still close to everything in Briar Creek, and you can get a new single family house for ridiculous, especially when we talk about the fact that they have strong incentives.
Those are the best. Incentives are the best. And Ben, one community that we visited, would be Solana by Polte Homes.
Oh yeah.
Polte Homes, semi-customable.
Yeah, and they're literally going to be building for years. So they have phase after phase after phase. We were there a year ago and they're still building. still throwing out super great rate incentives, meaning your monthly payment might actually be lower on that new construction home than the more expensive resale home with today's rates.
For sure.
And you get access to everything new amenities. The one downside, if I had to say it, to being on that east side of Durham, it's gonna look very different from today versus 10 years from now. And I think 10 years from now, people are gonna be like, oh man, I really wish I had bought today.
They will.
But in the meantime, there has to be a ton of development that's going to happen. Things are just gonna look crazy. But there's not a ton of retail right now. So if you move in today, it's gonna still feel a little bit more rural, you know, brand new community, but then next door is some older homes, and then there's some farmland, and then another new community. It's more mix matched, but
Super.
it's not gonna be that way in the future.
So Ben, here's the big question. Why would I choose Durham over Raleigh?
Glad you asked the question. That's what we're here to answer. I think there's no like one specific thing, but the new construction that we talked about is probably the biggest.
It's the biggest.
Right? It's a really easy sell for a lot of people to say, hey, you know, go into an area that's up and coming, but it's still somehow magically close to jobs, close to all the shopping, close to Publix, and you get a brand new home for cheap.
Of course.
That sells most people. On top of that, I would say what we saw in downtown is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
You know, it offers a very different vibe from downtown Raleigh. And so I'm not saying you don't do both, but having downtown Durham be a little more lively, have a little bit more of the food and the art scene, you know, that might strike someone who's from a bigger city.
It's more welcoming.
It is more welcoming. Like you said, you don't get like that big city vibe in downtown Raleigh as much. And for some people that might not kind of fit their vibe.
No, and what we were talking about when we were walking downtown Durham is that it sort of resembled what's going on in downtown New York, right? We saw some streets, people eating outside, a lot of movement, shop after shop, short distances among blocks. So it's pretty cool.
The only thing it was missing was $1.50 pizza. If you're ever in New York, you got to get $1.50 pizza. Don't got that in Durham.
Or the coldest beer.
The coldest beer. Everywhere you go is the coldest beer. And I mean, why do you think that people choose Durham consistently over Raleigh?
Great question, Ben. The number one thing would be things to do, would be excitement on downtown. There's activities all over the place. Durham Bulls game. Theater. Artsy downtown, shops, man, so many things to do.
And honestly, I also think that like being in Durham is your best bet at finding affordable housing, specifically being close to Research Triangle. So not only do we see families moving here, but we see families who work in RTP. We see high income earning, you know, professionals in the pharma, in the tech, in the research space. They're all moving in there. Not to mention there's so many jobs within the healthcare space sprinkled throughout Durham where you get a little bit more of that in Durham versus you do in Raleigh.
Yeah, so that's why I think the future for Durham in 10, 20 years, it'll just keep on growing. It'll just keep on expanding these awesome areas. And I mean, school systems are getting better by day as well. So the future is bright.
Okay, now there is still one more big question here that we have not answered.
Okay.
If I'm thinking about moving to the area, I'm really just trying to figure out, is Durham the right fit for me, or should I be looking somewhere else? How would you help someone say they were calling, saying they're relocating? You know, what would you tell them?
That's a great question, Ben. What I would say, first off, go to www.raleighncguide.com/quiz, and you take that quiz. It'll actually tell you the best areas for you, depending, of course, on your answers. If you need more in depth, if you're ready to go, ready to say that game plan to find your home, I would advise you to click the link in the description, set up a time to chat with our team, or you can scan the QR code, call the number, reach us, we'll guide you. That's what I would say. So Ben, to answer your question, is Durham right for me? If I'm the type of person that likes a vibrant downtown, if I like things to do every weekend, family-wise, just for me-wise, Durham is the right place for me. Variety is all over Durham.
Yes, very much so.
That is fantastic. And then, of course, affordability is one of the main factors. Sure. I don't have to be far away from civilization to get an affordable house. Here, I'm within all what's going on in the triangle, all the growth, all the things. So if that's me, that's Durham.
Regardless of if it's Durham or elsewhere in the triangle, our job is to help people like you every day relocating find the perfect place to call home. Reach out when you're ready. In the meantime, watch one of these videos next to keep learning more about Raleigh Durham.